Hello folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. Now I have a bit of an unboxing and review today of a product from Oxford Rail. So here it is. It's a tanker wagon. It's a 12-ton tanker wagon actually. So let's get it unboxed and see what it's like. So then, let's unbox this model. So it is just in the normal Oxford Rail box. See if I can get it open after the off camera. Oh, come on out. It's on strike now, it doesn't want to leave the box. So then, as always, it's in a block of ice. So we'll start with the detail bag that we get in the top. Said Amra would like to focus, that would be lovely. Come on. So in this bag we get 2 3-link chain couplings, which is very nice. Now I've seen in other people's reviews you can actually use them, so it should be good. Come on, focus. So let's get this open. Now I've been waiting to review this for quite some time, and the reason for that is because, well, how can I say this? My dad's dead grumpy and he won't know us in the training room. There we go, that's the real reason. So let's have a look at some of the detail on this model then, because there's lots. So then folks, let's have a look at some of the detail on this model. But before we look at the detail, I want to say 2 things. Number 1, if there's any background noise like, raspberries being blown, or any banging on the walls or the doors or anything like that, any silly sounds, that's my little sister being, well, let's just face it, ignorant and being an arsehole. And Abby, if you're watching, I'm not sorry. I did ask you to be quiet before I started this. And the other thing is, do you hear that? And the other thing is the price. You can get these off Oxford Rail's website for £21.50, I think if memory serves. But if you go to a retailer's website, like for example Hatton's Model Railways, which is where I bought this one from, you can get it for £18.50. Now that is fantastic, bearing in mind the detail. So let's have a look at some of the detail on this model. Now let's start off with a tank. Now we can see the writing on the tank is very, very well done. And if we just zoom in slightly, we can see that the writing is very, very good. And now it says BM Motors Spirit highly inflammable, Benzyl and Byproducts Limited. Now if you want, on about the writing, you notice this very, very tiny writing underneath the tank. In fact, that just gives a good comparison, my finger against how small that writing is. Now from where I'm stood, you can't read it, but I'm sure you'll be able to see it on camera. So now you'll notice that the writing is underneath the straps, which means that obviously they do the tampo printing before they actually assemble the model, which is fantastic. So on about these straps, these ones here might look like part of the moulding, but actually they are separately fitted. In fact, most of the things on this model are separately fitted. So the other straps that are around this, we can see these yellow ones which sort of crisscross over the tank. They look like they are under some decent tension. If we look, for example, down here, and then again up at the top of the tank, which is fantastic. We can also see some rivet detail on the side of the tank, which again, for the money, is absolutely fantastic. And then again we can see a rivet detail on each end. Now on about the ends, they are both identical, so I'll only show you one end. We can see on the end, again, is loads more rivet detail. And then we can see these straps here which come up the side, and then we can see a nut just to where the end of my finger is, and then another one on the other side. In fact, the one here I'll get in focus for you. So you can see that obviously they tighten these nuts up on the threads that I'm guessing are on the ends of the straps there, and then that would basically make this piece here squeeze the tank, so it would like squeeze the tank inwards, and then that would help to hold it in place. So looking down at the buffer beam, we can see the buffers are separately painted and separately fitted, which is something that you don't normally get, which is fantastic. So we can see that they again are separately fitted and separately painted. Now they aren't sprung unfortunately, but when I feel them they are stone cold, which means they must be die cast, which is fantastic. Now on about die cast, that is one of the few things that are die cast on the model, which in some cases is bad, but it's not too bad on this one, because even though there's not much die cast on this, it still weighs a lot more than, let's say, so one of Oxford Rail's 5-plank open wagons, which is fantastic. So that there is a top of the range new release tank wagon, and you've just seen the buffer beam detail. If I was to bring my Great Western 6-wheel milk tanker into the shot, no, stay in place. It's kind of misbehaved now, isn't it? Just stick that under there, that should hold it in place. And then we zoom in on the buffers. We can see just how more finely detailed the ones are on the new one, which is on this side, versus the old one, which is on this side here, which again is fantastic. So if we have a look at some of the chassis, we can see on the new one, let's just move the old one out of shot first. Come on, old one, get out of shot. Now new one, you stay in place. So as you can see, you can actually see through the chassis on the Oxford Rail one, which is so realistic. In fact, let's get a Bachmann one, which is allegedly the exact same thing. So here's a Bachmann one, which is allegedly the exact same thing. Now you can see that the strap detail is nowhere near as good. In fact, these ones here don't look as if they're under tension, and it's not quite as good. It's still a good model and it's still a good runner, which is what you want, a good looking model and a good runner, but its detail isn't quite as good as the new one. So if we look at the chassis on the old one, you can see it's just a solid block. But then if we have a look at this one, look at that. It's just like the real thing, where it's just a few individual beams, which is absolutely fantastic. So let's just move that back into place. So looking at the chassis then, you can see that there is some writing on. At the very end, it says oil, so obviously this was for transporting oil. Now we can see 850. Now I don't know what that's for, but what I do know is it's very fine, and I'm having you look at the viewfinder just to read it. And we can see load 10 tonnes, so either this wagon weighs 2 tonnes and you can load an extra 10 and that makes it 12 tonnes, or the wagon weighs 12 tonnes and then you can load an additional 10 tonnes on top of that. So then moving on into the middle, you can see what looks to be a builder's plate. I think that is a builder's plate from looking at the viewfinder, but it's not even in focus. Come on, focus. Doesn't want to focus today. And then the one sort of towards the end of the wagon, I believe that's an owner's plate, so that'll say obviously, you know, it's owned by Enzel and by Products Limited. And then again on the other side it says oil. So overall, I think this wagon is totally worth the £18 that you spend on it. So the last thing that we need to look at detail wise is the underframe. So we can see all of the brake rigging underneath, which is all separately fitted and really well done. Now again, I was looking at the Bachmann one against this one before, and the underframe detail, like, I'm just going to use this, the brake handle, which is here, no focus on the wagon, not me pointer, which is here, and all the underframe detail like the brake blocks is much more fine on the Oxford Rail one, which means the Oxford Rail one is obviously much more well detailed. Now another thing I want to point out is this wagon is pretty free rolling, which brings us on to the next thing that we're going to do. So I'm going to spin you around and I'll show you what we're going to do. So this bridge here runs downhill on a very slight slope, and then when you get to the docks on this side of the bridge, it then runs back uphill. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of the camera stand for a start. Is I'm just going to put it here, and I'm just going to simply let go and see how far it rolls. Now that is decent actually, and bear in mind some wagons don't even make it down to the end. So we'll bring the wagon back up. Put it in place again. So you've seen the detail and you've seen how nice and free rolling it is. Now let's have a little bit of a running session. So then, let's have a little bit of a running session. Now, just before we start, we haven't really got many oil anchors. There's 3 in the onsis that's about a minute short, and there's obviously another one here. We have another 3 that are still in their box, and they're a Bachmann set of 3, but they currently don't have any couplings on, so we can't really use them. So unfortunately we're a little bit short on anchor wagons, but hopefully the few that we'll have in this train will be just fine. So I'll bring them into shot now. So I thought we'd use the Canadian National loco for a change. It doesn't really matter which loco we use because we are reviewing rolling stock, not a locomotive. So just let me check that they have coupled. Hasn't quite. No, it has. So we need to run down to the end of the dock and get the guards van. So we'll go and do that now. It does look good with the rake of ant wagons that has got the stud right. So just while we're having the running session, I'm only running on a small part of the layout, so that's why there's quite a lot of backwards and forward shots. I've decided actually I'll just run it all the way around. I think once it has a little bit of weathering it will look rather good. So then folks, we're going to end the video there, and if you've enjoyed seeing this unboxing review of the tank wagon, then please give this video a like, and if you're new to the channel or for whatever reason you haven't already, then please consider subscribing and turn on the bell so that you can get notified every time I upload. So thank you very much for watching folks, and I will see you in the next video. Bonus clip. I'm going to stick the train on the siding. I'm done filming. Thanks for watching folks, there's your bonus clip.